I think that's the official Apple time. Christy wants me to remind everyone that we're recording tonight for folks who can't be with us. So we'll have this up for anybody who was unable to attend tonight, or if you just like looking at yourself in a tiny box and want to rewatch it, you have that opportunity to do that as well. Let me just start real quickly, just taking a look here from our side. Christy Cooper, our assistant camp director and business manager, is with us. Bob Buter, our program director, is with us. Eric Hoyt, our health and safety officer, is with us. Wes Sherman, our camp commissioner, is with us. As I go down the list, AJ Vasta is with us from the Trading Post. And one of our new senior team members, Jimmy Jennings, is with us. Jimmy will be running the PEX program along with returning staffer Josh Florsham. They'll be our PEX dynamic duo, and we're glad to have Jimmy on the team and with us tonight. Let's see, I think I've got everybody from the Pipsico leadership team identified and introduced for tonight. Okay, so I'm going to just try real quick and see if this works. I'm going to see if I can share a screen here. And we're just going to give you some updates. We'll go around the horn, but first I'm going to start here and show you, I think everybody can see that. We'll unveil our patch designs for the summer. The Pipsico Scout Reservation patch will be the patch this summer for the Scout Resident Camp. The What's Your Superpower for our superheroes themed Cub and Weeblos camp, that will be the patch design that you will see that you'll receive this summer when you attend our programs at Pipsico Scout Reservation. People get a little bit excited, as you know, if you've been to our Scout Reservation before. We do Awesome Wednesday. We have a special staff shirt for that day. Shirts are available in the Trading Post with AJ, as I recall, as well. And we'll go ahead and unveil the awesome shirt for this year. It's going to look like that. Pipsico Awesome. Looks like a sports jersey. On the back, it's got the number 8, and underneath it, it says 8 days a week. So we're going to strive this summer to be Pipsico Awesome 8 days a week. In addition, we'll give you an update on facilities. Many of you know the work that's been going on there. And over the last 2 weeks, we've now started some new roofs. So here is the rifle range area with the, this is the aquatics area, excuse me. Down by the shelter down at the aquatics area with its new roof. You can see the work that's gone on there. This is the pool facility. The pool house has a new roof as of this week. And near and dear to AJ's heart, the Trading Post has had its roof repair. And so we will be moving forward with the completion of the interior renovations, which will finish off with the new ceiling, new floor, and countertop. So the whole council for Tidewater Council, including our OA team, have been incredibly busy refreshing many of the facilities. Over their OA ordeal work weekend, we redid half of the parking lot. The other half will be redone in the May ordeal. There's a new fence all the way around the archery range. Repair work and new seating was done on Awesome Field and a couple of other locations around camp, and probably more projects than I can remember on this call, but it was an incredibly productive time, and our facilities are looking great, and we're really excited for the summer season upcoming. Let me turn it over to Eric Hoyt for an update from the health and safety perspective.
Hello, everybody. So this evening, I touched base with Dr. James Hatcher. He's our camp physician and council physician. And so I asked him if there was anything that he thought that I should share with you all tonight. So he did give me a couple of things to share with you, and I'm gonna I'm going to mention those right now. So first of all, we do have the new CDC community level metrics that are up and running. So if you've been paying any attention, you know, we've got the low and the medium and high. So right now, we're in low. All of Southside Hampton Roads is in low, and that's where we want to be. So low basically just means that we don't have any mask requirements right now, and pretty much life as it is pretty normal. Now the concern is that there is a new variant which you may be aware of that's out there. It's Omicron variant BA.2. And the latest data is showing that it's making up about 72.2% of the COVID variants in the United States right now. So it has become the dominant. The problem with it is it's about 50% more transmissible than the previous Omicron. So there's a concern with that. And it also seems to be attacking or infecting is a better word, younger people. So the concern Dr. Hatcher shared with me is what's going to happen after spring break, because spring break for the local Southside schools is starting next week. It may have already started in other parts of the state this week. And of course, spring break is notorious for a lot of air travel and going to other parts of the country as families travel. So there is a potential for a spike in cases because quite honestly, almost every holiday is linked to some kind of an increase because of the traveling mainly. So we're just going to have to watch that and see how that pans out. Now, the good news is, of course, our summer camp doesn't start until late June. So in theory, we'll get some solid data in the upcoming weeks about what's going on with this latest variant and if it really is an issue or not. It has been an issue over in Europe. So we're just kind of hoping that it remains a non-issue for us. Continuing on into some other information to share with you. We do have a fair amount of other things going on with pediatrics right now. The most obvious is allergies. The pollinating is here. My car turned a nice shade of yellow, literally overnight. And also kind of similar to that, we're seeing an increase in respiratory illnesses. So that's also not uncommon because of allergies and upper respiratory infections and things like that are going on. Strep throat has also come back as a very prevalent type of illness for pediatrics. So where I'm going with all this is all those other childhood illnesses are still out there, and we've still got to be vigilant about those. Having said all that, the data is pretty good right now that we're in good shape for all those illnesses, including COVID in the pediatric world. We still want you to do the COVID pre-screening. I talked to Dr. Hatcher. He totally agrees that for 10 to 14 days prior to arrival at camp, it's good practice for everybody to self-monitor and to immediately go and get an evaluation from a healthcare provider if you start showing any kinds of signs and symptoms of any of those illnesses that are out there. If you have a fever, shortness of breath, coughing, new drainage, sinus drainage, anything like that could be indicative of a possible virus or bacterial infection. He also said it might be worthwhile to encourage the campers to not travel for that 10 to 14 days before camp, since we know that traveling leads to increased illness of all kinds. It's just something worthwhile to mention to your parents that maybe if they can avoid it, to avoid the travel, especially on mass transit like planes and things. We are still asking that they bring masks to camp. Now masks are optional, as they are all through the Commonwealth of Virginia. But if they start showing signs and symptoms of an illness while they're at camp, and it doesn't appear to be a COVID thing, but just a viral thing, we may ask them to wear a mask. And we also need to be prepared for the fact that anything could happen between now and June. And so, ask them to still pack some masks and have with them at camp. We do need to prepare the parents that children may be sent home. That's nothing new. That really doesn't have anything to do with COVID. If we have a camper come in and the camper is showing a fever and other symptoms of illness, viral or bacterial, multiple symptoms, we're going to send them home. That's going to be our recommendation, because we don't want them to spread anything to campers, but we also want them to get the care that they need. We want them to take care of themselves and get whatever kind of care they need. So, we have had some instances in the past where parents have decided to go away and go on their own vacation of sorts or whatever while they send their child to camp, and then that creates all kinds of difficult situations in trying to get that camper home and possibly to some kind of healthcare provider. So just have that conversation with your parents, if you would, about be prepared that they may have to come home through no fault of their own. The last thing I would be remiss if I didn't mention is, two things actually. The mental health situation is pretty significant right now. It's significant in pediatrics and it's significant in the adult population. In Virginia Beach, in just the last 24 hours, multiple overdoses, multiple suicides. Fortunately, those weren't pediatric cases. I mean, none of them are good, but at least they weren't children. But we are having issues with in the schools with an increase in mental health problems. And a lot of it has to do with them being at home for a year and a half and not really having normal social interactions that they would have had before the pandemic. So a lot of anxiety issues, a lot of depression, and a lot of social issues. And so having said all that, Mr. Scheib and I and the rest of the team, we've talked about training the staff for signs to look for when they're working with the campers of any potential mental health issues. We're gonna do some training. We're gonna bring in some professionals to do the training for that with our staff and make sure that they are taking care of themselves, our staff are taking care of themselves, and also to make sure that they're on the lookout for any issues with the campers so that we can promptly respond to them. We had a very successful summer last year with working through some issues with some of our campers and helping them reach the goals they wanted to reach by the end of the camp. And we want to continue that positive forward movement. So the last thing is, don't forget those medical forms. Part C, the physical, we got to have it. Please don't put them in plastic sheet things. The best thing to do to speed up check-in process, hole punch them, 3-hole punch them, put them in a binder or in a folder in an organized manner where they're, A, B, and C for each camper is stapled together. Have everything all signed off and completed. And then I could whisk through those usually fairly quickly. So, and if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them at the end when we do question and answer.
Great. So a couple of high level thoughts. Number one, we are planning for a maskless camp. We're planning for normal operations, but I think the takeaway here is we do have a team that is staying apprised of the latest medical information, and we'll make an adjustment if we need to. But our full intent right now is that we're going to move forward as normally as we possibly can. And speaking of moving forward normally, let me introduce Bob Buter, our program director. And Bob, for folks who weren't on the last of these calls, you might just refresh folks' memory on what we're going to be doing this summer.
Thank you, John. If you were not here last time, this summer we're going back to the more traditional merit badge sessions where they spend, about 50 minutes. They will do 3 sessions in the morning. We'll have lunch, then our siesta, and we will be following that with 3 sessions in the afternoon. We do expect to have all our evening programs up and running this year. So, the scouts will be able to participate in that. And I do believe we're doing the campfire with family visitation at the end. Is that correct, John?
That is the plan.
Okay, great. So life should be normal, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Get you guys signed up for merit badges. I know John gave us the numbers on how fast people signed up, so a lot of people have been doing that. We will not be using blue cards again this year. And if you've got scouts, they need to check the prerequisites for their merit badges. The merit badge information that's on the website has the prerequisites that the scouts will need. So that's about where we stand. Same thing as Eric. Any questions? I'll be happy to answer them at the end.
Great. And just for a point of reference, I don't know if I've mentioned it on this call, but when we opened up merit badge registration on the 26th, we had 200 merit badge sessions filled in the slots in a merit badge filled in the first 2 minutes, and we had 2,000 slots filled in the first 45 minutes. So you all were very active that day, clearly. Let's see. Wes Parker could not be with us tonight. Jimmy, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to what I'm going to say, but I'll give you that opportunity. What I'm going to say is our specialty programs, including PECs, are filling up incredibly quickly this season. We're excited for that, but you should be very much aware that those programs are filling up very, very quickly. I know Jimmy has met with his PECs team with Josh, and they are working on the program design, pricing out all the options. But we're expecting a very fun-filled and robust program, just like our prior years, getting our young people off the camp property and out doing some great things. Dining hall, I didn't see. Is Lisa joined us tonight? I don't think she could. Lisa is here. Lisa, if you can hear us, Lisa, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, thanks. I actually already got one of my allergy forms back. I'm so excited. If you have people that have specialty needs, let us know ahead of time, fill out those forms and get them in. We're going to go back to having units come in and help serve lunch if they'd like to. And any of the leaders that want to come in and hang out in the kitchen, I'll just remind you that our freezer is -8. So it's a nice, cool spot. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out, email me, or I'll hang out for the question and answer at the end.
Great, Lisa. Thank you. And
You're welcome.
the point of emphasis for Lisa here is we work really hard to accommodate allergies, but we have to know about them in advance. It is almost impossible to address allergies if we're told Sunday at check-in that somebody has a food allergy.
And this year more so than in previous years, because sometimes it's hard to get items. We've been having some issues, and I'm sure everybody's been to the grocery store and seen empty shelves. So I need a heads up way ahead of time this year.
Lisa, one of the questions is, do you need to know in advance about vegetarians?
It would be helpful, just because we do have some items that we get in. Vegetarians are not as difficult to work with as some of the other ones.
So let me answer on Lisa's behalf. Yes. If it's anything if it's a not normal meal, if it's anything out of what we're serving, tell us in advance.
And vegans, I will tell you, vegans need to bring their own food because I cannot accommodate them.
Okay. So I think that's that one. Okay, next is back to me for a staff update. So I'm very excited to introduce you to Jimmy, who's joined the team. We've now filled out basically the entire senior team. We've got about 60, over 60 people have received contracts to work. I think we've got 50-ish back, if I'm not mistaken, Christy, not if I'm in the ballpark. It's like 50 staff are under contract. The one spot where we are still recruiting heavily is in the lifeguard spot. And so if you know any young people, 16 to 18 is the target range there, who would like to come out and spend the summer with us at Pipsico and be a lifeguard in the aquatic section. at the pool or the river or both. That's really the only staff need we have at the moment. We've been really excited and energized by the number of returning staff members we have. So out of those sort of 50 that I've talked about 35 and we're pushing on 40 are going to be returning staff, which is really a big deal for us from a camp administration standpoint. We did learn, last year, the growing pains of having been shut down for an entire season and kind of rebuilding a staff. And so having so many returning members is just going to be really exciting for us, and it's going to help us to hit the ground running much faster. So thoroughly energized by that. Unless I've missed somebody from our side, are there any other updates? That we wanted to give? AJ wants to remind everybody to have their kids bring cash for the trading post. And if they have questions, to put it in the chat. His voice and video is not working at the moment, but he can respond to anything in the chat. All right, with that, we'll open it up to questions, other than to tell Barbara Lee that I'm out of Samoas.
So I got a quick
You
question.
and
This
me
is Jonathan
both.
York with,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, for the blue cards. So if you guys aren't doing blue cards, I'm assuming you guys are doing the digital ones. For the prerequisites, the scouts are still expected to bring their partial blue cards to camp, correct? Or how do you want to work that for the prerequisites?
Yeah, so we thank you for the question. We've done it either of two ways. Some kids come with a partial from a prior camp. If they've got a blue card, we'll take care of it. That's no problem. We can do it via the blue card system if it's easier for you and you have sort of a record keeping or a note from the Scoutmaster that the prerequisites were done. We'll take that also. It doesn't have to be on a formal blue card. We're actually here to make it as easy on you as possible. So whichever way is easiest for you, we'll make it work.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question. Ken, you have one there, I think.
You're muted, Ken.
You're muted there, Ken. You're on mute, bud.
My wife
There
would
he-
like me that way.
There he is.
Okay, for Eric, actually, we addressed at the last Zoom meeting about transportation requirements when we get to camp. Are we suggesting that parents bring their own scout, or that we can do carpooling as we have in the past? It does make our transportation easier.
And Eric, when you answer that, could you just refresh what we talked about at the last meeting so that the folks who weren't here kind of have the benefit of that information?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, absolutely. Carpooling is fine. There's no reason, to avoid that. What we do want is, the day that you're traveling, check with every camper and make sure that they're not having any issues, no signs and symptoms of any kind of illness at all. Literally lock them up in the typical police line that you would do for checking for trash or whatever, and just go down the line and make sure everybody's good and touch base with the parents. So we don't have an issue where they're riding in a car for 2 hours and then we find out, little Timmy he had a fever and he's coughing and, not feeling well. And what we shared in the last meeting, during the height of COVID, we basically made the policy that if anybody showed up at camp ill, the entire car went home, and that was it. So now with the current changes and the way things are, so many folks being vaccinated and the COVID situation has changed. It's more of, if somebody shows up and they're ill, I'm going to have to do an assessment on them and find out what the issue is. If the issue is clearly not a COVID issue, then we're good. We're fine. We'll take care of that one particular camper who's ill and let the rest of the car that rode with him go about their business. If it seems that one camper is showing some symptoms of a transmittable disease or not disease, not the right word, but virus or, illness or whatever, then that's a different situation. Then that's where I'm most likely going to call Doc Hatcher, tell him what I see, tell him what my assessment is, and get his input on what the best course of action would be, because that's why he's there. He's a reference person. So to make it short, carpooling, great, no problem. Just make sure everybody's good to go on the day of the trip, and hopefully the last 10 days before the trip. And if we have an issue when somebody gets to camp, we'll address it there individually.
Great. Thanks,
Thank you.
Eric. Thanks, Eric. Teresa, I'm coming to you next. Before I do that, in the chat, for the people who maybe are following along, but maybe don't understand the reference, we try to send out a preferred arrival time to units, which allows us to stagger units coming to camp. Everybody's a little happier than having 20 units in the parking lot, and you will stand there and wait for a long time if you all show up at noon or 1 o'clock. It worked pretty well last year. And so we are planning to do that again to sort of spread the folks over the period of time for check-in. On the sailing question, week 1, Carolyn, let me check on that while Teresa asks her question.
Okay, my questions are actually for Eric. With the COVID screening that we're going to be doing, do you want, as Scoutmasters, I'm just asking, nursing, do you want us to send you in the pre-screen forms like we did last year, and that way you have them in check-in so that you have them, or do you want us to just do it as a unit? Because I'm going to make mine do it anyway, so it didn't matter.
No, we don't need the forms. We're not collecting the forms anymore. We haven't for any of our weekend events here of late. We're gonna do normal check-in, normal operation. So that's fantastic that you're going to do that, and I definitely encourage everybody to do some kind of screening prior to arriving at camp. But we don't need the paperwork like we've had in the past.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Who else has a question? I've got two pages of folks, so just speak up if you've got a question.
John,
Ken?
John, if you please, regarding arrival times, is that going to be site? Is that going to be based on site assignment? That all of the units in a site would come in at the same time?
Not necessarily, Ken. We staggered them last year. And what we did was we made it a little later for troops that had to come from further away. So sort of like your big Northern Virginia troop, or not big, but necessarily, but Northern Virginia troops came, we gave them a window sort of a little bit later in the afternoon versus, somebody who was in Chesapeake or what have you. We didn't actually do a formal sign-up sheet for preferred arrival times. We kind of assigned them out. And I'm not sure yet which way we're going to do it. Frankly, it works a little easier if we assign them, but if somebody has a particular need, we can try to take that into account.
Troop 901 and our sister troop 5800 are sharing a site. Can we get the same time, because we're basically leaving from the same location?
Yeah, you've got to send me a note, Ken, and I'll try to make that happen, but I'm not going to
We can
remember
do
it
that.
just from tonight. But if you would send me that, we'll try to make that work for you. Sure.
Can do. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let me just grab a couple here off of the chat. Yep, got that one. Carolyn, I'm working on your week 1 sailing. I'll respond in the chat to that one. Barbara Lee, you have a question about sleeping arrangements?
Yes, this is my first time attending, and I'm going to be the only female leader going with an all-boy troop. And I just wondered if there is anything I need to do as far as my sleeping arrangements other than setting up away from them.
So the way we do it at Pipsico is that we have tents pre-set up in the campsites, and how you allocate your tent space among yourselves is for your unit to handle. Obviously, as a lone female adult leader, you would have a tent to yourself in the campsite. And then and Teresa and others, help me if I get any of this wrong, because I'm putting myself in a female's shoes for the moment. There's single stall showers at central showers. What am I missing? Anything else she should know? Teresa, help me out.
There's, at the campsites, there's actually, on the different showers, there's actually female showers and stuff like that. So it's all good. She can just go and one side, like we take all the girls and they do it that way. Because you do have it set up for male and female, so it works.
Paul, we would ask that you, Eric, do you have a preference on med forms? I think we generally prefer that med forms be brought and not sent in advance. If you take a swim test in advance, we would ask that you just coordinate with Rick McElrath, who we can put you in touch with. He's our aquatics director. And as long as you pre-swim test in compliance with whatever he needs, we have units that do that, and that's perfectly acceptable.
As far as the med forms, I wouldn't have any issue if you sent them directly to the camp, prior to arrival. But considering the way sometimes delivery of mail and things like that works, I would make sure you have a copy of them. Keep the originals with yourself and send a copy. Because during staff week, I can totally do a pre-screening of your med forms and make sure they're, everything's in order. And then you can bring the originals with you. That would be fine, but I would send them insured, through some manner that you can feel comfortable that they're going to get to me and not be lost, damaged, stolen, whatever, because they are medical forms. They're HIPAA, paperwork.
And Eric, if mailed, I assume you would suggest they bring a copy of the med forms with them as a backup.
Yeah, send the copy and bring the originals. That would be preferred.
Paul, I don't know where you are. Did that address your question?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I did talk to Rick because he couldn't be on tonight about the swim checks. He said to make sure that the form is filled out. Whoever does the swim checks, there's a form that needs to be filled out, and to make sure that you have that copy with you and a copy of the credentials for whoever did the swim checks.
Perfect. Thanks, Lisa. Who else has a question tonight? Just go ahead and speak up.
Okay, I have another question then for Eric. Now, if I give you copies of the med forms and I keep the originals because I use them for all year long, is that okay with you?
Oh yeah, that's
Okay, cool.
perfectly fine.
I'm just going to give you copies then. That way, if they get lost or misplaced, I'll be good because I want to keep the originals.
Well, quite honestly, that's what most of the troops do, is they bring a copy to turn into me, just in case they get left behind or something. They're not losing their originals.
Gotcha.
Okay. Carolyn, I replied to you privately in the chat. Let me know if that does not answer your question.
Yep, it does. I'm replying back to you, but I do have another question or two.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Questions about a couple of merit badge things. So for merit badge fees, I know we can pay in advance or pay there, but if we pay in advance, are we going to get charged the credit card fees that are coming with our?
If you pay by credit card, you will. Yes.
Okay. So if we pay in person, how does it work? Do we need to just have the scouts come with cash? And do they pay on check-in, or how does that work? Sorry. Go ahead.
It'll be on check-in. Let me turn it over to Christy Cooper, our business manager. She handles that right at the front gate at registration.
Great.
Yes, so if you bring cash or check, that works as well. Because if you bring a credit card and we run it through there, you're still going to get that same fee as if you paid it ahead of time. So cash and credit card on site work. And even for some of you who you may come and we know merit badge changes occur, same for anybody there that are changing on site that didn't prepay. We take payment right there with cash or check as well, credit card, but it will be the 3% fee.
Christy, there's another question in the chat about using electronic check before camp. I think the answer is we don't have that worked out right now, but as I recall, we're working with Black Pug on a payment alternative. Do I have that correct?
Correct. We've had several questions about electronic checks, so we're looking into that, trying to see if it's feasible for us to set that up. We currently do not have that option, but we are working on it.
I have a couple other questions on merit badges. So if we have a selection change that we need to make before arriving, we can just do that online, just switch it out on Black Pug.
You bet. Yep, correct.
Okay, cool. And then the other is for the Citizenship in the Nation merit badge. There's a field trip. Does that conflict with other merit badges that the scouts might be signed up for, or is it somehow deconflicted with other merit badges?
Bob, can I let you speak to what we're thinking on that with field trip at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. It will most likely conflict with their merit badges, but what they will do is they will let the counselors know that they're doing a field trip on, say, Thursday, so that they can take care of the work that they miss. Our staff has been really good in the past about accommodating these scouts. So yes, there's a conflict, but it should not present any type of problem.
Awesome, thank you.
And Carolyn, thank you for raising the field trip question. Bob is working hard on that. We've got Citizenship in the Nation pretty well locked down. I think it goes without saying that we're working with the nuclear power plant and other places like that for some of the traditional field trips. Whether the nuclear power plant will allow us in, we're going to be working with them. That's a little bit out of our control, but we're working. Bob's working hard to make sure that we have those experiences for as many of the badges for the youth as we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question for you, John.
Yes, ma'am.
I know, like, when I signed up for our troop, I've already done all our merit badges. I've done everything because you asked me to, except for sending Lee server forms, which I have them all.
Thank you.
I just have to send them in. I have them all. I made them do them. No, like when I signed up for them, 29, because we are a B and a G, it's already in there. So you should already know that we're at the same site. So that's not going to be conflicted when we do everything, because we do everything as 29.
Yep, no problem. It's most of the units that are affiliated like that. We can see that in the registration and know that.
That makes sense. That's why I was like, when he was talking about trying to change your, if you have a B or G, in your travel times, we would always be the same, because it's like, hey, 29, you're leaving at this time.
Yes,
and show up at this
that
time.
we match those up. That's right.
Right. So I think that answers Ken's question.
Oh, was that Ken's question? So if that was Ken's question, yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
and that
Teresa.
that's why I was like, that was kind of Ken's question. So
I
I was
may
trying
have-
to get clarification, because the way you said it was like, oh, well, email me, and we're like, well, we already did.
No. If I'm sorry, I missed that. I thought
Like-
we have had, and I apologize. I was answering a chat at the same time. I probably should have been
okay.
listening to Ken more carefully. If it's a boy-girl paired unit, we know that. We have had some instances where it was, I came from a troop in Northern Virginia. I'm with one here. We're both coming to camp together. We want to be in the same campsite. That's what I thought we were talking about. So my fault.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for setting me straight, Teresa.
I was just confused. I wanted to make sure that, this way I didn't have to send you a new email, because I know I
Yep.
have to send you an email about my one scout who wants to hang out for 2 days for no
Yep.
reason whatsoever.
Alice, correct. Young people change their merit badge schedules even at camp sometimes.
Hey, John, this is Tim Smith from Troop 75 up in Charlottesville, Virginia. I have one question regarding the swim checks. So typically our local district will do a swim check, pre-camp swim check. It's a big event up here. Most of our scouts will go through it. When we're talking credentials for that, is it okay if I just bring you the form from that event, or do you need, what exactly are you looking for in terms of credentials?
So great question, Tim. The answer is yes. We're going to take those swim tests. I'm going to get you in connection with Rick McElrath, who will give you the appropriate form that, or not form, but he will tell you exactly what credentials he needs. But it won't be a problem. We've had units come from there that have done the swim check before, and that'll be just fine. Unless Lisa's talked to Rick and she's got something else to say.
Yeah, he said as long as it's somebody that's familiar with scouting and is certified as a lifeguard, that would be fine. It's just occasionally he gets some that are not familiar with scouting and they don't understand how they have to do the swim tests. So he would like he sometimes wants to see their credentials. But if it's through a district event, that should be fine. If that form is
Yep.
filled out, it should be fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, look at Eric being able to share his screen for us. So I think really the point is, we've had some instances where somebody said, well, I had a parent go out and swim check a bunch of people. We don't know if that parent's been trained in the BSA program, in the BSA swim tests. So as long as it is, is done through your district or some other compliant means, Rick's going to be okay with that.
Question on scouts that do not pass the swim check. We have some newer scouts that have crossed over that were Weeblos that are with us. Some of them are wanting to do the swimming merit badge, but I don't have any essay on their capabilities. My understanding, if they fail the swim check, they can still participate in that merit badge, correct? Because they'll probably learn how to swim during the merit badge, or should they look at an alternative merit badge?
If that occurred and they wanted to stick in the aquatics program, we would move them into more of a learn to swim type program where we can work with them on the actual swim strokes as opposed to the more intensive swimming merit badge requirements. Jonathan, you froze on me. I want to make sure you got that answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Christy, there's a question in the chat about transferring a registration. Could you take a look at that one for me?
Yeah, so you can change out a scout at any point through this process. You just log into your registration and go to that scout name that you currently have, and you can add a different scout name. So those aren't like set in stone until basically you get to camp. If it's a cancellation and you no longer need that spot, you would just need to email me, John, or Wes Parker, and we can take care of that. We're in the time frame where there's a 15% cancellation fee until May 1st. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Good, Melissa, thank you very much for the question. Who else has a question this evening? Try to check the second page, make sure nobody's raised their hand over there.
So I have a question. So I saw where the open swim was like I don't even remember how it was called, 4.5 session, like from 3:30 to 5 o'clock. If a kid wanted to do something in session 5 that goes to 4 o'clock, can they then jump over to open swim, or do they have to be there right at 3:30 for that time period?
No, open swim is open swim. It's
Okay.
it's a drop.
Okay.
Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Program, but as I recall, that's a drop by and swim, drop by and get wet program. You're on mute, Bob.
I thought if you pressed your space bar, it took you off mute. Okay. Now I remember what it was. Yes, the open swim is just a combined swim type thing.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Hey, John. Yeah,
Yes.
This is Ernest Hines with Troop 102. I got 3 questions. 2 of them are admin related, and one of them is about the rifles used at the rifle range. I'll start with that one first. Do you know what kind of sights are on those rifles? Although I worked the program last year, I've forgotten. I think it was either optical sights or they had peep sights.
I believe they're optical, Ernest, and I'm going to put a caveat in there that we were very lucky to win a sizable NRA grant. And so we may have some new and different equipment at various shooting sports sites this summer. But yeah, last year they would have been optical sights, I believe. And you're talking to a shooting guy. So if somebody else on the team wants to chime in, I mean, I know how to shoot, but I'm not a gun guy.
Okay. Cool. That's what I barely remembered that, but I knew they wasn't the iron sights, so they were either optical or the peeps
Right.
things. The other two admin questions: when do you need the T-shirt order, and then how much do they cost if we order them prior to camp?
I'm pointing to the box that has Christie's picture in it.
Oh, cool.
Ernest, thanks for the question. Christy, can you chime in on that one?
Yes, the t-shirts are $10 on a pre-order. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get one when you get to camp, but they are going to be more expensive because we can't get, you're not getting that discount for the pre-order. And I was trying to quickly look at what the cutoff date is, and I will get that back to you before we hang up here on the Zoom meeting.
Okay, cool. Could you also, so the sizes are both youth and adults?
Correct. And AJ's popping in the chat here. It's $12 in the trading post. The sizes are youth and adult.
Cool.
AJ, is there anything else on shirt sizes or what have you that you want to tell folks? We unveiled the awesome shirt today. The other shirt, we'll save that to get you to come back to another call.
Okay, not a problem. We'll do. These things are exciting. This is my last admin question. When is the dietary restriction form due?
Lisa?
I would love to have those 3 weeks before you come to camp.
Okay, cool.
And you can just send it to my email. I'll print it out and put it in my special binder.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Ernest, I really appreciate the question. AJ makes a couple of good points. One is the t-shirts, we'll get them in the sizes that we can, attempting to get youth and adult. As you get into the week 3 and 4, the number that we order sometimes gets depleted in the trading post. So as you become, if you are a troop coming weeks 3, weeks 4, pre-order is much better way to guarantee yourself a t-shirt.
Okay, cool. We're in week 2, so we should be good. I'll put that on when I finalize our registration.
Great. Thanks, Ernest.
All right. Thank you.
I have a question for Bob.
Yeah, Teresa.
When I went in and did all of the merit badges, they seem to have like a 2.5 hour space, and then it changed, and it was just really bizarre. Because again, I thought they were 45-minute classes, but they come up and say, no, this is a 2.5 hour. This one was like from 3 to 4:30 or 4. And I was really confused, but I put them in and I figured out how to manipulate it so everybody got what they wanted. But I wasn't sure if that was actually like a 2-hour class for most of these, like the swimming merit badge. Is it 2-hour class? Because it did cut out other people's merit badges because of the way it would kept giving me this, half-hour B class or whatever.
Right. There are a number of the badges, like you pointed out, swimming and climbing, where they're actually, and archery, and really all the shooting sports. They're actually an 1.5 hour session. So you wind up with that odd half hour there. So that's where the scout goes to the trading post and spends all his money with AJ.
Got it. Okay. I just needed to know that because I have a certain scout that's going to do certain ones that we need to make sure that half hour he's doing something else, because
Right.
you don't want him running around camp.
Alligator ice. You can buy him alligator ice, Teresa.
There you
go. Make him clean the camp. What I do. All right. Thanks.
Sure.
Oh, Lisa, I want to cook and throw eggs on Jeff again this year. I need to do it. So.
Okay.
Any other questions for the group tonight? Okay, I think we have hit every question that was in the chat. If you posted a question in the chat, did we miss you? Okay. And Christy, did we have anything else for Ernest that we owe him?
I put it in the chat in case anybody did see it. May 15th is t-shirt pre-order deadline.
Okay, got that. May 15th. Perfect. Carolyn, I got the note about your about sailing, and we need to circle back with you on that.
Okay, I'll
Is there-
put my email in the chat for you. I
Thank-
think you have it, but I'll just do it again.
Perfect. That'll be great. Is there anyone else who we've committed to get information to tonight that we haven't gotten it to you and we need to follow up with you after the Zoom call? Okay.
John?
Yes, sir.
Can I just say before we go that we appreciate your opening up this forum to get all this good information out to as many people as possible. Thank you and for your staff for all you're doing for us.
Well, you're welcome. It's our pleasure. We found these were incredibly helpful last year, and we just thought we would continue it this year. It's great to see you all in advance of camp, and we're excited to see you in person too, Ken. So thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. Now, the hard one is we're going to do one of these with our young people on staff's parents, and so that'll be the fun one. All right. Well, if there's nothing else tonight, I think everybody knows my email is I'll put that in the chat also. It's jscheib@pipsicobsa.com. And if something comes up and you need us, we will respond as quickly as we can. I am not a professional scouter, for the record. I'm a volunteer. So if you don't get an immediate answer, like within 30 seconds, forgive me. Okay, with that, I appreciate everybody's time tonight. We're really excited to see you at Pipsico Scout Reservation, and thanks for all you do for your young scouts. Have a great night.
Same to you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.